Welcome to the Prime Real Estate Network channel on YouTube. I'm your host, Mr. Prime Real Estate, Ric Davis.
And I'm your host, the Texas Real Estate King, LarryWBrooks.
Every week, the King and I will provide you exclusive access to our network of lenders, investors, and real estate professionals from both the commercial and residential real estate sectors.
Now, are you millionaire minded? Or maybe you're a millionaire in the making? Make sure that you subscribe so you can get connected to the network. And always remember, the Prime Real Estate Network, where millionaires are in the making.
Create wealth for generations.
What's up, Prime Real Estate Network listeners? It's your man, LarryWBrooks, a.k.a. the Texas Real Estate King. Hey, when you get a moment, go ahead and go over to shoplwb.com. You can see the Pure Hustle merchandise that we had over there, some of our newer items that we have in stock, and of course, I got all the books that I've authored. I'd love for your support. You have a great day.
Good day. Welcome to the Prime Real Estate Network Live. I'm your host, Ric Davis. If you don't follow me on social media, I invite you to do so at Prime Real Estate Ric. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in residential or commercial real estate anywhere in the great state of Texas, but especially here in our lovely city of Houston, I urge you to reach out to me directly on Instagram at Prime Real Estate Ric. As always, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you this week, and I'm really excited about today's show. I want to give a huge shout out to everybody that's checking us out live on YouTube and Facebook. Let's get involved in today's show. Leave myself, this week's guest, or the Texas Real Estate King a relevant real estate question in the comments section, and we may very well get your question answered on today's show. I want to give a huge shout out to the team over at Brooks & Davis Real Estate Firm over at 2600 South Loop West, Suite 310 here in Houston, Texas. If you want to learn anything about buying, selling, or investing, stop by the office, man, and we would love to meet you and help you get started on your real estate journey. I want to take some time to introduce my co-host. He is not only a highly successful real estate broker, but he is a multi-time author, serial entrepreneur, and the proud proprietor of the Pure Hustle clothing brand. I want to thank him so much for sitting in on the Prime Real Estate Network Live. And I'd like to introduce to the audience my co-host, the Texas Real Estate King, Mr. Larry W. Brooks. How are you doing?
Yes, sir. I'm doing amazing, Rick. No complaints at all. You know what I'm saying? Had to make sure I brought out another one of the Pure Hustle gears, the little lights.
No. See, I was going to let you make it.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to really bring it up. Now, I feel like I have seen all the different colorways.
Yeah.
The Pure Hustle ball caps, but I've never seen the fluorescent green and black. So is that the new joy? Is that the joy rolling out for this season? Is that the 2026? Because that one there is live at 5, my brother. I can't even trip.
Come on, man. I appreciate those kind words. And I think what it is, it might just be a reflection of it off of the white beard a little bit. So it got to get it that balance that it might need right there.
That's what's got it popping like that, brother. That's why it's
popping like that. Yeah.
Hey, big huge shout out, man. Stop by LWB, shoplwb.com, man. Look up all the Pure Hustle merchandise, man. So appreciate you for sitting in with us this week, Larry, man. It's been I'm really excited about today's show.
Yeah.
It's because these is one of the shows I've been looking forward to for a while now.
Yeah.
It always gives me great pride in being able to interview Brooks & Davis, realtors, real estate professionals, and entrepreneurs here on the show, man. First thing for you, sir, how you been doing this week? How excited are you for today's show? And how excited are you to be interviewing one of our own Brooks & Davis real estate professionals?
Man, I've been good, Rick. No complaints at all, man. Just having conversations over at Champion School of Real Estate, just really embodying, the amount of people that are continuing to want to be a part of this industry. Social media has a habit of throwing out so much of the bad things because that's the clickbait. But when we really talk about what's going on with professionals in this industry, the growth that some are having, we have them over here on the Brooks & Davis team. So I get an opportunity to call myself Mr. Cut Those Checks because I get a chance to break down, see people numbers as they coming in, see, how they're going out and servicing people. And so as Mr. Cut Those Checks, I can see that there are a segment of our realtor population that are doing very, very well. And as well as you can see, the projectors and I'm going high. So, it's just been a week of that for me. And so I'm always excited about that, especially going into the holiday season, knowing that, all the fruits and the labor and the lead generating that realtors have done is going to start to blossom even more after the holiday season. So, that's always a good thing as, we go into these holiday transitioning periods.
I appreciate you for mentioning that, because that gives us a perfect segue into introducing this week's guest. One of the things that you pride yourself on is not just being a real estate broker, but also being a thriving member of the community. That's right. And one of the things that I've always been impressed with is how you've helped to show leadership as far as investing in areas of town where there can be quote unquote gentrification happening, or those less developed urban areas. Yeah. And one of the things that comes from you being interested in that aspect of real estate investing is that you've learned a lot about multifamily complexes and a lot of those things that are going up in different parts of the city of Houston. That I think sometimes people may not necessarily understand how quickly these areas are developing from that standpoint, and the opportunities that are out there as far as multifamily investment. Yeah. So could you just talk a little bit about what initially put that on your radar? B, why you feel like it's so important for the agents over at Brooks and Davis to share this information with the public, and most importantly, C, how we were able to get this week's guest to commit to sitting in and talking to us about this multifamily investment revolution.
Yeah, man. I'd say, when you sat in this seat of being a part of home ownership or real estate growth over the last 25 years, you've seen where certain segments are starting to lack, right? So housing is something that we just started to lack in. We had a lot of large multifamily units, your apartment complexes, but then just those, those communities, those subdivisions that started to age a little bit, your South Parks, your Sunnyside, your Fifth Wards, those areas started to age a little bit. And we started to create regulations here in Houston where you were allowed to, instead of putting a single family home in there, being able to put a multi-family unit on a property. So, your duplexes, your fourplexes and things of that matter. And we've seen a real growth in that population, a real growth, because now you can build more space. People have people to lay. So with that being said, I do think that's something that a lot more realtors should speak on, but only if they know what they're talking about, right? And so for us today, we're lucky enough to have an expert that does that have helped clients in that particular field to be on today to speak to that. And I think that is something, we love the new thing is house hacking. I think it's an amazing idea when you start to think about growth, especially as a young person or maybe a seasoned person. You've lived a little bit of life and you're just now trying to find that wealth generating opportunity. And this is one of those steps that can help you out with that.
No, absolutely, man. So without any further ado, this episode is for those potential first-time investors, those seasoned investors, those who want to turn one door into two doors and two doors into four doors. This episode is for you. So without any further delay, I'd like to introduce this week's guest. This lady is not only a highly successful entrepreneur and business owner, but she is the Brooks and Davis multifamily investment expert. I want to thank her so much for sitting in on the Prime Real Estate Network Live. And I'd like to introduce to our audience, Miss Destini Brown. How are you, Miss Brown?
Hey, everybody. I'm Destini. I'm good.
Thank you so much, Miss Brown. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you sitting in here, man. It's like having family when we had the team from Brooks and Davis sit in on the show. So I want to thank you so much. Larry and I joke a lot that we have our podcast on the busiest day of the work week for every business owner and entrepreneur. So I want to thank you so much for carving some time out your Thursday afternoon schedule.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I have no problem with it. We've been rescheduling for a while. So it's like, okay, I got to commit.
You got to commit. You got to give us some of that the Instagram real energy you be having. She be on the furniture. She be in the bathtub. Listen, we want that energy.
No, of course, Larry, you're right. For all the members of the Brooks and Davis real estate family, you need no introduction. But for those who are meeting you for the first time, Destini, could you introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your real estate why, and why you're so passionate about being in the real estate industry?
Sure. So I'm Destini. I'm 23, originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I moved to Houston. This will be my third year, 2025. So about 2 years and some change ago. I've been in real estate for maybe about 2 years now. And I would say my why has been, similar to everyone else's, just providing for the family, establishing career, and kind of just following God's footsteps that He gave me.
Thank you so much for sharing. What makes that message so powerful is that not only are you transitioning to a new market, but you're doing it at what Larry and I remember back as an age where sometimes people are a little less, they're more apprehensive to make those kind of changes and step out on faith from that standpoint. So we want to congratulate you from just being able to have a vision and being able to be in a position to put one foot in front of the other and actually bring that vision to life. So for all of those young adults who have moved to Houston, transitioned to Houston, when you were in Ohio, what was it about Houston as a market that you thought would be valuable to somebody with your talents?
Well, I got the idea of moving to Houston from my twin sister, who currently goes to Texas Southern. And I knew I didn't want to live in Ohio for the rest of my life. So after I made that transition of leaving college in Clark Atlanta University, then I went back to Ohio for a bit, and I was deciding where should I move. So I said, okay, well, my twin sister is in Texas, and I know she needs me. So it's like, okay, well, let me just go ahead and, go where my family is. It wasn't until later on that real estate came into my life. So.
No, the great thing about you being moved and the spirit moving you to make that transition when it did is that it put you here in Houston to be the perfect mentor, the perfect consultant, the perfect example for those new professionals that are transitioning from college to the working force, those recent professionals who are now going into entrepreneurship. So what have you found is the number one value that you've been able to bring to the members of your social circle since you moved here? Has it been real estate education? Has it been entrepreneurial motivation? Like, I know you have so much energy. What is it that you feel like you've brought to your circle and your tribe since you've moved to Houston?
I would definitely say it's been, I tell everybody that I'm someone who believes in staying in my lane. So if I find that real estate is my lane, that's where I go head towards. I don't try to do a doctor or a nurse or something like that. I just stick to what I know. Also, I've learned to use what I thrive off of to be more successful. So if I'm better at networking events, if I'm better at social media, if I'm better at in-person clientele, or however I get my business and develop my business, I double down on that. And, I take a lot of good nuggets from other realtors who are successful and who I would like to be like, and I apply those methods. But I've also learned to tailor what works for me and kind of just go off of that.
And, I want to speak to members of our audience who haven't had the privilege to meet you in person. One of the best things about Ms. Brown is exactly what she mentioned. She's able to not only observe, but also learn through experience and implement into her own business.
Yes.
And one of the things that we talked about early in 2025 was the quote unquote house hacking.
Right.
The being able to buy a duplex and live in one side and have the other side pay for it, and that type of thing. And that's something that I've been really impressed that not only did you grasp, but you learned about and you implemented into your business. And that's been a really significant part of your social media recently.
Yes.
So could you talk about that aspect of your business, the house hacking, and what type of response have you gotten from people who you've educated as far as that process and making that a possibility?
Sure. So I've always knew, even as a new agent, that my desired clientele would be investors. I didn't necessarily know how I would get there, but I just knew that investors was my calling. And, you know, I heard from a lot of agents like, oh, you know, that's hard and you want to get more experience and you may not be ready for that. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. You know what I mean? But it still never fully left my vision. So I was like, you know, it kind of just came to me from me looking for other income sources. And I was looking like, oh, hey, it looks like a lot of people was doing Airbnb. And at the time it was trending around the world, Atlanta, Houston, New York, anywhere it was a hot city. It looked like everybody was kind of popping off of Airbnb. And then when I was going to networking events, I would click up with a lot of people who was into real estate. And one of my good friends now, she ended up having 20 Airbnbs. So I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was looking to get into Airbnb and I just found you. Right. So I was like, okay, cool. And through that, my business kind of started to form. So it wasn't even directly from her. It's just that going to more events and creating content surrounded by Airbnb brought in Airbnb clients. So I got a lot of people who is looking to get into the Airbnb game, a lot of people who's looking to get into the duplex house hacking. Oh, I want to be an investor, but I don't know how. Or I want to take this move for my family. I want to grow extra income, but I don't know where to start. So it's like, that's kind of where my business started to direct itself towards. And again, you know, I just kind of stayed in my lane and followed the breadcrumbs. So
now for those in our audience that are 18 to 26 who may not have purchased property or invested in real estate before, who may have heard of house hacking, who may have seen your social media, could you just let them know how the barriers to entry aren't as steep as people may think? Could you give them an idea of how one would go about acquiring something like that and being able to make that dream a reality? Because your content is so straightforward that I know sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, she makes it sound really easy. But could you just illustrate for our audience how they really can make those dreams a reality?
Right. So I feel like a lot of things in real estate in general can be simple, but not necessarily easy. And I feel like purchasing property is just another one of those things. Like I've seen multifamily units, you know, like from Andre Berard, Brooks and Davis. He has some multifamily that was listed for $380,000, you know, which sounds super big. But obviously when you live in one unit and rent out the other unit, the mortgage gets covered for you. And not only that, but that's giving you a footing into investing in more property, having a bigger rental portfolio.
Okay, let's give Ms. Brown a chance to get back in on the feed. But Larry, could you just speak to how powerful?
I totally agree with what she was saying. That's ideally when you're thinking about it. You know, like she said, Andre Berard, one of our top producers over at Brooks and Davis. Another thing that he specializes in is building out and being a developer himself. And so, yeah, you give a perfect example when, you know, being able to acquire something at one price and being able to list it, because our rental market is probably one of the most expensive rental markets that we've ever had here in the city. Yeah. And so I can definitely see how you find you a good mortgage rate, which back in the days, that was the whole thing. You were renting, it was costing more to rent than it was to actually own something. So just to tie into what she was saying with like building out a duplex, the way that you can actually acquire one and then have someone else really paying most of your mortgage, if not all of it.
Absolutely. Right. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Brown, I thank you so much for tapping back in with us, because what makes this so powerful is that previously young professionals may not have necessarily had the investment and financial wherewithal to handle a multifamily purchase back in the day. But now there are so many more opportunities from a lending and mortgage standpoint to make these things accessible to most working professionals. Could you talk about how being a renter now does not keep you from being able to get involved in this type of investment as far as multifamily or a duplex situation?
Sure. Like a lot of people that end up renting into the multifamily, they get to grasp an idea of what it's like having to actually own the home, because a lot of the time these multifamily units are new construction. So just being very transparent, sometimes everything may not always be up to the par that you may be used to living in an apartment or a standard single family home. So it's like you may have to deal with maintenance, you may have to deal with repairs and things like that. So at least they get to get a grasp of what it would be like if I actually owned the home versus me renting right now. And on top of that, hey, this is what I'm paying in rent, but this is about equivalent to the mortgage. I could be owning this unit that I'm paying for right now instead of paying for someone else. So it's like a lot of the people that get into the duplexes, even just to run a business out of or whatever, they kind of already have their mind churning that, hey, this could be an investment for me. Hey, I would like to secure one for me. And this is a good way for me to get my leg into the door.
And we talked about your stepping out on faith, making the transition, going from Atlanta to Cleveland to Houston. Do you ever take time to consider the influence that you may have over members of your family who may still be in Ohio, who may be witnessing this transition from afar? Because a lot of times what Larry and I like to discuss on the show is how we are always inspirations for some of the people around us, even if we don't always understand it at the time. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you this question, Ms. Brown. When you think about your upbringing as a young woman, were there members of your family that were business owners, entrepreneurs who stepped out on faith? And if so, how did you feel they may have influenced you or set an example for you to walk the path that you're on?
Well, for the first question, I feel like I'm an example of what it actually looks like to step out on faith and be fearless. You know what I mean? Within God's right. So I feel like even though I'm young, I am showing my family, hey, we can do this. Hey, we lived in this cold climate our whole entire life, but it's okay to transition. We don't like it here. We can leave. We can live in the South. We can thrive. We can be successful and start a new life. So I feel like that's another example that I lead, even in my young self, for them. You know what I mean? But as far as people that influenced me, my mom, all the way. Like as I was growing up, she had a cleaning business. Now she has a trucking business. She had a logistics business. Like I would help her with her financials. Like me and my sister, we were 12, 13 years old, helping her clean these units, helping her do paperwork, helping her secure more contracts. Like she was doing the thing and while raising 4 kids by herself. So it's like she's definitely taught me that no matter what you do, keep going. And it's okay to restart. It's okay to not, fully make it there, but you're trying and you're going to keep pushing through. And that's where you will succeed, by just following your calling. You know what I mean?
And I do, because sometimes, especially in business, you don't always have the opportunity to truly appreciate the path that people have traveled. So I appreciate you being so transparent and candid with your story and what motivates you professionally. But I want to make sure go ahead, Larry.
Well, I'm kind of curious. So as we go into 2026, it's a new year. We get excited about that. What are you most looking forward to, adding to or taking away or, giving to the public when it comes to your real estate business? What are you looking forward to in 2026?
Closing more deals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like keeping the flow going.
Yeah. You've been flowing too. You've been flowing.
I know, right? And I'm
you've been in your lane doing your thing. Yeah.
I'm really boots on the ground, just trying to keep it going. You know what I mean? Keep building. Like, of course, I've been doing a lot of leasing. I would love to transition into a bigger buyer's market and strictly buyers and just keep doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And closing more deals, transactions, growing my business and developing my network.
Yeah. So speaking of network, do you see that you gain maybe more of your influence from social media, or is it the hand-to-hands, like networking events? How is it that you kind of gain or building out your reputation?
Well, I would definitely say I build a reputation through in-person events, networking events, always showing up to the game nights, to the happy hours, to the thing, like always constantly showing up, being myself and talking about business. Hey, what industry are you in? Hey, do you need this? But as far as lead generation and traction for my business, social media all the way. And it's crazy because it's like sometimes with social media, you know, some people may not be serious. Some people just want to look at 1,000 homes. So it's like you got to know how to differentiate who's serious and who's not. But as far as like leads and stuff, definitely social media.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I can continue to show up to those type of events. You know, I've been in this industry since I was 22, I think. Wow. I've been in it quite some time. But I remember being in it and, you know, like you said, showing up, attending events, you know, those things when we used to do more of those, like you said, game nights, those things were just, those are the things that were soft touches that made people trust you more than, you know, you going out and having to purchase dinner and purchase coffee and all those things for people. So those kind of foundational things is really what helped me skyrocket when I was your age in this industry.
I love that.
Yeah. And in closing, Ms. Brown, do you have any words of encouragement or advice for someone that's sitting in a seat that you might have been sitting in maybe 3-4 years ago that may be up north right now in 13-degree temperatures?
I know.
So is there anything that you can say as far as something to put some fuel in their tank and motivate them to stay ambitious?
I would say, you know, follow the breadcrumbs and stay in your lane, and perseverance is everything. It's everything. You know, you can have the highest highs and the lowest lows, but at the end of the day, you have to keep going. You have to keep moving forward and just don't stop. You know what I mean? Pivot when needed and keep going. Ask for help.
Now, I want to thank you so much, Queen, because your story, your example is something that so many members of our audience can take advantage of and have the luxury of, without meeting you in person, being able to take some things from your journey that could hopefully put some more air in their sails and keep them moving forward. So as always, I want to thank you again for sitting in with us. You always have a seat with Larry and myself. In the future, if you have any events that you would like to highlight and spotlight, please let us know.
And please, again, go ahead and give everyone, you know, how they can follow you, how they can reach out to you and actually help you with help them or move forward with doing business with you. Give them some of that contact information so that they can be able to reach out to you and touch you.
Absolutely.
Sure. Well, my personal phone number as well as my emails are all public information. A lot of people reach out to me through social media. So if you'd like to check out my content, my Instagram is at DES_the_doll. So of course you can always email me, text me, call me. You know what I mean? I'm available and we can get some deals done. You know, let's talk about it.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Anytime you would like to sit in with Larry and myself, you have an open invitation. We want to wish you the best of luck and the happiest of holidays. We'll see you in 2026, and let's get to the money. Thank you so much, Ms. Brown.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Okay, Larry, now let's talk about that interview because that interview was absolutely enlightening. Larry, does it take you back to when you were in your early 20s? When you were just getting your feet on the ground in this industry and you were figuring out and carving out a path for yourself? Like, how did hearing Ms. Brown's story affect you internally?
Well, no, I definitely agree with it, you know, because I was someone that, you know, after college, when it came directly into this real estate industry and just kind of paved me on way. And so a lot of things that she said just is where the foundation was. Now, we didn't have social media at that time, but what we did have is a lot of social gatherings, a lot of hand-to-hand combat. And to hear her say, like, yes, I do get a large amount of my business off of social media, but my main relationships are built with me being out there, attending game nights, being with my friends, being in social circles of networking. Hey, man, that means the map hasn't changed. That means that you just kind of continue to finesse and make it stronger. So that's what I really enjoyed and really picked up about it. Plus, the knowledge of being able to want to send out an opportunity for people to get involved with, you know, renting the development of the duplex, right? That kind of that niche right there. I think that's great.
No, man, I think so as well, man. This was a great day, great interview. It was a great time to be in the city of Houston practicing real estate.
Now, will you be in the city of Houston for the holidays? What that look like for you? You in the city this for the holidays?
Oh, no, I'm in the city, man. We'll have friends and family traveling from Dallas, San Antonio, coming to Houston, man. So we look forward to having everybody over, man.
Yeah.
You know, like you say, the holidays is mainly for the children, but I try to take some time to be thankful and be grateful for all of the blessings that me and my family have had the opportunity to enjoy this year, man.
That's good.
Want to thank you for sitting in on the show, brother, man, because this is something that the people have told us that they've taken something from, that they've been able to edify themselves, and most importantly, educate themselves as far as all aspects of real estate. So thank you so much for sitting in with us as always, brother. Is there anything that you would like to say in closing this week from the Texas Real Estate King?
Hey, nothing at all, man. I appreciate everybody. Let's continue to grow, continue to take the time to share this information, share this video, like, subscribe. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes on this video, 1,000 shares on this video. Let's really put it out there. Continue. That's one of the ways that you can help the platform. You know, we're not asking for any of your finances. All we're saying is like and subscribe. We've noticed that a lot of people that listen to the video consistently didn't know that they had not subscribed. So if you had not, check and make sure that you subscribe and continue to just share the information.
Appreciate it, man. On behalf of myself, Ric Davis, and the Texas Real Estate King, Mr. Larry W. Brooks, we want to thank everyone for tuning into the Prime Real Estate Network Live. Until next week in this same time, we urge everyone in the audience to please be safe and be blessed.
Safe.